Okay,
Go ahead and call it to order.
I'm going to call the meeting to order. And Dina, do you have a copy actually of the minutes? We can put up on the screen.
Minutes
Or not the minutes, the agenda, sorry.
Yes.
Like I said, jet lag words are not going to be good
No
tonight.
worries. I will, let's see.
So announcements is next. I think I pushed that over to you, Nina.
Sorry, 1 second. Technical difficulties. Announcements. Yes, so a couple announcements. We should have some budget info coming next month. This is something that's been in progress. If you've seen some of the draft budget documents, you may have seen something in there. We're still working that out, but the budget goes to council in August. And so I should have an update for the board by August's monthly meeting, give you some details and hopefully answer some questions about how that will work.
You're talking about money for us to use.
Yes, for 2023.
Yeah.
Since it's still very new, we're still trying to figure out what that looks like as far as how is there an approval process? What does it look like? Since staff will be the ones actually in the system, you know, being able to do that. So we're gonna figure that out and we'll get you guys an update. Other updates, there is progress underway for the NASA heat mapping project. I know there's been a lot of interest from that. So hopefully also by next month, we will have a finished product or close to finished product that we can share. I've seen little glimpses of things, but nothing tangible that I can share out to the group. But we are also hoping to have them talk a little bit about the project in a broader setting to people who are interested, but still need to finalize that too. Third and last announcement, I did send out our draft submittal for CDP to the board. That did get submitted today. And so I will share our results once we get that back. I don't know when those are coming out. I would assume it's not anytime soon.
But I will let you know. Just we don't know.
Tis the nature of things. So yes, I will keep you all updated on those, but I just wanted to keep you all in the loop about what's going on. That's all I have for announcements.
Sounds good. How are things going with kind of the sustainability plan?
That has been on hold for the past month just because I've been swamped. But now that things are slowing down a little bit, that's one of my top priorities going forward, is trying to flesh out what it looks like in its sort of skeleton form when we bring in community and how to provide feedback, and then where the board sort of fits in there with staff and what that sort of balance is for fleshing it out. So, right, the goal is still to have something substantial by this time next year, if not earlier.
Sounds good. So I'd like to call a motion to approve the minutes, if everyone's had a chance to read them for this last meeting.
So moved.
And a second, please.
I don't hear anybody.
I'll
Second.
Sounds good.
No.
No.
No. You don't get a vote.
Yeah, you don't get to vote on that one. All right, so let's call the vote for all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No, same sign. Okay, minutes pass.
Nobody's saying anything.
I think, are they putting thumbs up or anything on the screen?
No, but also in general and in our bylaws, no
No
motion is assumed to be in the affirmative.
Okay,
So
Nice.
that works.
I serve on another board where no response is
Is it positive?
a no.
Is a no? Is a no?
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
Please. I know. So
All right.
irritating.
So anyone who has any public comments they'd like to make, go ahead, Kent.
I have a thumb drive, if I may. Is that possible?
Can you?
Can we do it there?
we can certainly try.
Give it a shot. I think
This is a
these
new.
I think these are plugins. I don't think these are thumb
Or is
drives.
it go on?
Oh, yeah, it might just be
I
charging.
think they're
How,
charging.
are you doing that on your computer or where are you?
No, we may not be able to.
No, I'm not spinning right now, buddy.
Yeah, how are you doing this on the screen?
Do you want to sit?
It's.
You want to sit on this on?
Oh, God. Okay.
So I'm not sure if I wanna, there's 2 USB drives, but they're being used by the mouse and the keyboard. I'm not
Oh.
sure.
Wow.
That's what's like it for you, you never get to
Yeah,
show
I know.
it.
So I'll summarize it with,
You can always send stuff to me ahead of time too.
yeah, okay,
So we can always, and then I can load it up beforehand.
all right. Is this okay right here? Essentially, it's for, there's a congressional House Resolution 2482, introduced by Jimmy Panetta, the Democrat from California. And it is called the Microgrid Act. And I know microgrid as one word, but this is, and I'll speak slowly, making imperiled communities
He's still listening.
No,
resistant
baby.
to
I want that
outages,
one.
micro, with generation that is
No, that
resilient,
No, that one. I don't
islandable,
like that one. I don't
and
like
distributed.
Be quiet.
No, that one.
Micro
No, no.
grid, which I thought was pretty cool. And what it is amending the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 to provide tax credits for microgrid property. That is coupled with something called FERC
Whoa.
2222, Federal Enforcement Regulatory, Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, 2222. What that provides for is anyone that has excess generation from their solar, wind, electric vehicle, battery storage that can sell on the wholesale market for that price that they would get in return. This helps with paying for your solar system, storage system, electric vehicle that is paramount in this market. FERC 2222 allows for this. Also, HR 4559, Department of Defense calls for this. And the Colorado HB 22-1249, that's their microgrid roadmap that allows for this competitive energy market. And I had a lot of slides that outlined this, what community solar looks like. Schools, churches, businesses, and individual owners can participate in this market. Some states, however, and some state legislators took it upon themselves to opt out of this program for one reason or another. I suspect I know why. However, Kansas is not yet one of them. And I would like to see from this board a policy statement supporting said act, as well as Texas code and other states, property code 202.010. That allows anyone to have solar installations on their property and not opposed by a homeowners association. And we've now just learned, I'm pretty sure this is happening in Kansas City. Someone is being sued by their homeowners association, being forced to tear them down by a homeowners association. And we're not clear if that was ever even specified in the homeowners association's charter. So those are the things that I would like to see happen. This, of course, would allow for a lot of economic development, not just at the top, but also individual homeowners. This allows for grocery shops that want to start serving fresh foods in challenged communities to do so and not have to pay high prices for running refrigeration units or freezers and the like, so forth. I would like for this board to take that into consideration, perhaps a move, and then we'll go to the city, county, and give us some clout before the state of Kansas. Anybody thinking about this? I've also mentioned this to the CEO of Evergy. And I said to him that we will be pushing for this because of FERC 2222. He didn't seem to have any one way or another on that. I would like to build momentum on House Resolution 2482 and adopt that to state and local policies. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nina, are we, in terms of, as a board, can we make those kind of proclamations regarding different levels of government? Or how does that work from the standpoint of what we're allowed to do in a sense?
Great question. So anything will basically have to be like approved by the city, because this is all under the city branch.
Right.
So we have to work with staff and city council to see if there's support. And then that would probably move out of the board's hands and into either our consultants, because we do have consultants who lobby for specific legislative changes. So that could be something that gets placed with that group. But I can definitely look into that a little bit more to figure out what the proper procedure would be.
That would be good. And then the other kind of question I would have on that is if we could, would we be able to maybe take elements from that and try to do it at a city level? Is that also something that we could
That's
recommend?
probably something that we could do and that could be recommended. It's always easier when there's something to sort of work off of. So sort of taking that and tailoring it to a smaller area.
Right.
I don't think it would be that challenging. We would just need to, run everything by legal,
Sure.
make sure there's no zoning issues or anything like that. So we'd have to involve staff on that level, but it is.
Oh,
it is
I read.
My concern would be Evergy. I wish Tammy was with us tonight.
We can talk with her about it though and see what.
possible.
What would they try to stop it?
And
Because
we-
they might.
We could bring it to the full energy efficiency committee as well, to see what the other opinions are, not just.
It probably would be a good idea. I mean, it's kind of in there. That would be one of the things that they should be working on anyway. But I think finding out from Tammy not what's possible, but what would be the likely roadblocks,
Mhm.
I think is
Yes.
worth a good candid conversation.
And I will say that there has been interest from council members on making solar more accessible. So this might be something that ties directly into that interest.
Yeah.
That we can really have a hand in doing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of that, I mean, something along those lines that we're allowed to do. Does that sound?
We're getting there.
Okay.
There's a lot more in there, but.
Yeah.
Yes, it's complex for sure, and anything like that is gonna take a lot of time.
Would you send us maybe a link to that?
Certainly.
We can send it through Nina and then she can spread it out to the rest of us, but
The presentation, sure.
the presentation and the link to the.
Yeah,
the
any
hospital,
information you'd like us to distribute to the full group, you can just send
that
to
would be
me.
good.
I just want to know, I talked to Maggie, and she was at Firefly Farms, Ballard, and she said that she was gonna look into the regulations, as far as, having, what he was talking about, whether housing associations can keep thing up solar,
Mhm.
and whether that falls under the city and county both, or if it falls under.
Oh, doggy.
No, the city, the county, and then you got your,
City, county, state.
not state,
Townships, HOAs,
no.
it's complicated
It is.
among the planning board, and we just often hear from the city and or county attorney, the city and the county are not responsible for enforcing HOA regulations. It's a private agreement between landowners, and it's not governmental.
Right.
So any governmental influence on it, I'm not even sure how that would work. I mean, it's like,
Right.
if you've got a contract with somebody and the government steps in and says, well, but we're not gonna let you do that.
It would have to be something that specifically says that HOAs can't, I guess, impose fines based on this because it's
Yeah,
considered like a right under state law or
That-
city ordinance.
that's what it would have to be.
Right, and they're not allowed to oppose city ordinance, so
Yeah.
we have to work with legal on
Now, it's complicated.
that.
Yeah.
But yeah, the more we
But
can
that's
work
what
on
I'm
it.
fighting for.
Absolutely.
Get that.
I might say that the city already has an aggregator, Voltes, if you had heard that. And they are what's called a community choice aggregator that does participate in the wholesale market.
Okay, if you want your juice. Do you want your juice? Any other public comment? Let me see the lid. Then I'm gonna keep it.
May I say that I'm just impressed with your multitasking?
I do it some days better than others. But yeah, life of a mom of a toddler. Okay, so no additional public comment tonight? Oh, Elizabeth? You're on mute still, but
Thank you. I'm just so excited to be here. I wonder if we could do, if it was, I haven't seen the agenda, if we could do introductions, just because everyone's new to me. And I know that the committee is made up of movers and shakers in the green community in Wichita. And
sure, we can pick round robin of introductions really fast.
I would love that.
I'll start, I guess, real fast. So my name's Neil Lombard. I'm the CEO of Kansas Global Trade Services, but I'm also the chair of this committee or of this board. And I will leave it at that.
Okay, Lori Lawrence. I could list all my organizations. Society
would
for
take her
Alternative
too long.
Resources. The one organization that I'm not a part of is Citizens Climate Lobby. So way to go, Elizabeth. But I also lead the Waste and Recycling Committee here.
Hmm.
And we are working frantically on a couple of different efforts. One of them that we're not gonna be able to work on anymore right now, but that we'll get ready for next year. But yeah, I'm involved in a lot of different things, including Sierra Club. So
I'm Deborah Foster. I'm also on the Metropolitan Area Planning Commission, which is, I'm their liaison to this board. I'm one of the embarrassingly inactive members of this very active group.
you come at least.
I come and try and provide a quorum. May I suggest that in your copious spare time, if you could like get a little picture of each of us and just a little name and pass out a sort of cheat sheet of who we all are.
I will, it would be
on the
really
website
helpful
for those of us who are, who are
not.
not good at remembering names. Yeah.
And I'm Nina, I'm the staff liaison. So I work in public works and utilities. And I am also the secretary for this board. So I run our air quality program and I dabble in sustainability and climate action initiatives.
More than dabble in it these days. Yeah. We're gonna give you more work as you
Okay,
go
who's
on.
next online?
How about Michael?
I'm Michael McCorkle. I helped establish the Sustainability Board and argued for it anyway. And I have the dubious distinction and honor of representing District 3.
Good. Lauren?
Hello. Yes, Lauren Clary. I work for Kansas Gas Service, and I am also the W board chair this year as well. W Young Professionals.
Oh,
Good.
okay.
And Jennifer? Okay, I'll go to Esther first and I'll come back to you.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I was looking at my grandchild. I'm Jennifer Brehan. I work with Dubois Consultant, civil and structural engineering firm, marketing director. I am on the Diversity Inclusion Civil Rights Board and was placed on this, I guess was selected to be on this board by and through the Diversity Inclusion Civil Rights Board. So
Great. That's good.
Nice. Esther's up there.
And Esther.
Esther, you're next.
Hi, sorry. I'm Esther. I'm at East this year as a upcoming senior, and I am the Mayor's Youth Council representative.
And Elizabeth, why don't you introduce yourself?
Oh, sure. Elizabeth Fenner, I was a California coordinator for Citizens Climate Lobby, a national and international organization that tries to touch every, and nearly does, meet with every congressional district in the nation to lobby for a carbon price. But at this point, anything regarding emissions reduction, natural solutions, clean energy. And so we're, I think, 300,000 at this point. So I just moved to Wichita. I'm super, super excited to be here, trying to be as green as possible. I just got a job at the library, so you'll be able to find me as a clerk librarian on the 9th in
Great.
Rockville. So glad to be with you. Thanks.
Welcome. Welcome, welcome. Okay. Did you have anything else you wanted to say in terms of public comment tonight, Elizabeth, or just wanted to?
No, just want to meet you all. Thanks.
Good. Okay. So we'll move on to the next agenda item. The Kansas Environmental Conference content suggestions.
Yes, so I had the pleasure of getting invited to the Kansas Environmental Conference in Manhattan to talk about Wichita's progress. And I'm standing up with some other panelists who are some heavy hitters. We've got Lawrence, who has done a lot.
Who is going to be on there from Lawrence?
Oh gosh, I can't
Because
remember.
Jasmine is not with them anymore.
No, that name doesn't ring a bell.
Yeah, she's been gone for a little
But
bit.
so I just wanted to very quickly ask if there are specific things that you absolutely want me to touch on as I sort of represent Wichita, specific projects or initiatives or anything else that I make sure I get into my 10 to 15 minutes as I'm there.
I would say what Lori's been working on with her committee. would be
Well, and
something.
I would like to
Mommy,
try to
here.
figure out if this is really an environmental group or not.
Moody.
They have a session, a day of sessions on CAFOs.
You're talking about this conference?
Yes.
It's hosted by KDHE.
Oh.
No.
So it covers
Okay.
a range of
Yeah.
topics.
So what kind of things are you looking for? Because
so-
like Laura said, we are doing some things with the Waste and Recycling Committee.
So I basically it'll be sort of a progression. I will be talking about Wichita in that it's, we're kind of in the infancy stages of a lot of this work. But that there have been sort of these piecemeal things going on in the past, and now we're sort of bringing it all together. And then the next group, I think it's the next one. Oh, maybe Kansas. I'm not familiar. Yeah, they will be talking about resiliency, especially as they face several tornadoes in the past. And then they've been doing that for quite some time now. And then Lawrence will be sort of finishing up with their robust program.
Yeah.
So I'm basically just talking about anything that we feel is relevant to sort of either showcase Wichita or talk about what is needed, or talk about some of the barriers that we faced or anything like that, to just to give people an idea of community resiliency and the path to get to better planning and resiliency and all of those great things down the road.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the issues we've talked a fair amount about is the tree issue. That might be something to talk about in terms of one of our challenges down here right now, is that and I believe, maybe this is not fully passed yet, but I believe one of the items in the budget is to plant what was it, 1,000 trees or something along those lines. That was one of the things that was highlighted, at least some of the Facebook posts that I saw coming out of governmental folk. But, you know, I would look at those things, like what are some of the major issues that we've been talking about on this board? So some of, again, looking at Lori and her,
Yeah.
her committee, looking at,
Well, and one of the things that Lawrence has just completed, their sustainability board has just completed, is their recommendation to the city commission for banning bags. They were not initially gonna ban, they were gonna charge, but they've changed it to just a full ban. They're waiting for the commission to hear it.
what you might talk about on that is some of the challenges that have come up here in Wichita, and again, how do we overcome that? And maybe, but probably a good thing to bring up, but then also hear how Lawrence did it. You know?
Well, maybe it's because they're progressive
I was.
and we're in Wichita.
They're also a little bit more resourced,
Yeah,
so
both.
it's,
Yeah,
but
and it's a smaller community too, and I mean, there's a lot of factors, but I think, you know, you could highlight that as something that Wichita is at least discussed doing as well, but here are some of the challenge, if you're looking at what are some of the challenges that are occurring down here too, that might be a good example of a challenge.
yeah, and I know that we've had some opposition with obviously things that we want to do versus state legislation that causes,
Right.
you know, potential barriers or probable barriers. So I can touch on that as well, especially with like the plastic bag task force.
It doesn't have to. It doesn't have to. We should just move forward. We already don't have a ban. So what if we get started and then we get our education started and people start going, oh, maybe I shouldn't use plastic bags. And then they ban us from banning. We still don't have a ban. But we got education there, at least for a little while.
Because no one's saying you have to take plastic bags to the grocery store.
Exactly.
So yeah,
you don't
there's an
have to.
educational
But
programming.
education would be a really good
Yeah.
thing. We, as the plastic bag task force, don't have, I mean, even if there's money for the sustainability board, we're not part of the sustainability board.
Right.
So we won't have much resources to make anything happen. But an education program would be for everything that we're trying to do for sustainability.
All of it. Absolutely.
We need to get it out there so that the public can start learning why they might want to make changes.
Right. Yeah, doing a public relations campaign effectively.
Yeah.
And I can add that as, you know, one of the goals that we're looking towards for this group is to really educate the public.
I think, you know, you could kind of set the stage too of talking about how the sustainability board, it's brand new here. We just started in, you know, the beginning of the year effectively. And kind of where we're at now and give them an update on it. And then talk about some of the projects that we've discussed. That's probably how I would frame it. If I were you. Anybody online want to share some thoughts as well in terms of what Nina should present upon and what you'd like to see her present upon, you know, for this meeting? Jennifer? Jennifer, did you want to comment?
No, that's okay. No, that's okay.
Okay. Elizabeth, looked like you maybe put your hand up.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm multitasking unfortunately here, but I think we're still talking about banning plastic bags.
Sort of. Mostly the overall topic is Nina's going to do a presentation coming up soon. So she was asking us in general what we think she should talk about for that presentation that would represent Wichita.
Yeah, awesome. I think Wichita loves its nature. I listened to a rant of a hairdresser once for 20 minutes on why she had to use paper straws. This is in Los Angeles, you know, paper straws. And I told her about the video about the sea turtle with the plastic straw. Has everybody seen that?
I just watched it last night.
Yeah.
I had 20 people online with me.
Yeah, it makes such an impression.
Yeah.
So if you were able to capture some photos of plastic bags in our natural waterways, in you know, that are you know, waterfowl and our animals have to deal with, I think that might be effective. Because I just love it here. I love all your ponds. I love all your nature, but plastic bags, that might be a way to get through to people.
How many pictures do you need, Elizabeth? I got them.
Well, you know, kind of to that
hundreds of
point with
pictures.
the exhibit that they're doing at Botanica right now. I don't know
Yeah.
If everyone's seen it yet or not, but it's pretty powerful in
Is that
terms of.
the like sea trash?
Mhm. They've made, yeah, they've made sea animals out of the sea trash. And it is, I think, fairly effective and kind of again showing, because it ties it all together again, and you see
Yeah.
how much trash and what types of things are, you know, I mean,
Yeah.
it's amazing to start looking into it closer rather than just the animal they've created, you know, and it's
Yeah.
pretty compelling.
Yeah.
The display is called Wash to Shore.
Mhm.
Mhm.
I don't know how much longer it's gonna be on though,
Not
because
that
it's
much
been there
longer.
for a while.
Yeah.
And I have yet to go. And I want to,
Yeah, I think it's gonna be there for a little while. I want to say through October, maybe.
really. that long?
Maybe,
That's
maybe.
awesome.
Yeah.
Just one little thing is, I wouldn't get sea pictures because the ocean
No.
is very far away from here.
No, I'm just saying,
Yeah, no, we know.
that the effect, I mean, in terms of it's here and they're touring in Wichita right now.
Oh, yeah. The only other thing is that actually a lot of plastic created in our oceans is
Coming from here.
from other countries. It's not, we have pretty good plastic disposal, but ocean trash is largely another country. So I'm just saying that these could be arguments against a ban bag, because it's like bags aren't, you know, ocean trash is not largely our issue. Just saying.
But it is, because a lot of the trash that comes from other countries comes from the United States.
Yeah.
A lot of what they have that's escaping is us throwing it on them to recycle it for us, because we don't recycle it locally. So it really is United States trash.
Okay.
A lot of it is.
Yeah.
But the bags, yeah, we've got plenty of bags in the Ark River. We can look at the Ark River cleanups that they do and the number of bags they pull out.
Right.
We've got lots and lots of, look at Bag Free Wichita on Facebook if you want pictures of bags.
Oh, great. Yeah.
I've stopped taking them.
I may be unalterably pragmatic or something, but I'm coming at this from the other direction and thinking, you know, how can we make people think that using not plastic bags is actually advantageous and good and more fun? I have a collection of Brahms insulated bags, which I've never found. I mean, there may be somebody else that has them, but they're so good. And I don't think enough people know about it.
Yeah.
And I use them for everything.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I know.
I find
have
them,
one too.
I've always found the reusable ones to actually be a lot more convenient in a sense.
Yeah.
They hold
As long as you
more.
remember to bring them. I mean, that's the key. is
Well, when the
remembering to-
weather's like
It's
this,
nice. I mean, but really,
to
they're
have an insulated container you can stick your frozen groceries in before you leave
Yeah.
the store means when you get home, they're still frozen.
Yeah.
Yep, it's true.
Yeah, no, they're
Yeah.
really, it's really nice to have those.
Mhm.
But even if you get to the store without your bags,
Can always.
you can always put everything back in your cart,
Mhm.
take it to your car, put it on your seat, away from the little one, so he's not gonna be throwing things around the car.
One
Put it on the
hopes.
seat, and then when you get home, you bag it.
Right.
You know, Tom James told me that.
Yeah. it's
I was
true.
like, oh,
good
I hadn't
idea.
thought of
Yeah.
that. You know, so
Yeah.
there's other ways around it, even if you forget.
That's true. So it's more of
But-
an excuse if you forget.
Yeah, right. I mean, there
Yeah.
really isn't an excuse.
Right.
And that's
But-
what. our
Although my
bags are
son will
for.
find something.
Teaching people, educating people to those kind of options, I think is the positive way, instead of trying to guilt them into saying, you know,
Right, it's
you're
like
ruining the world.
carrot
you know.
versus the stick.
Yeah.
sort of.
And
Yeah.
both have their place.
And
but I'm
both
more of a
resonate with
carrot
different
person.
people.
Yeah, except that the carrot doesn't work and neither does the stick. A law is what works. I mean, just historically, that's what works. So you just have to make an ordinance that says you can't give away.
It is a
single-use plastic
funny thing
bags.
how just even like a 5 cents tax on them makes you think about it. It's a funny psychological thing, right? Where it's only 5 cents or 10 cents or whatever it is that a city decides to do, but there's something about that.
Yeah,
It
that
makes you-
psychology of not wanting,
The
like
less
people
consumption that was free.
value not
Yeah.
losing something more than gaining something.
Yeah, that
Mhm.
usually results in about an 85% reduction in plastic bags
Mhm.
when you charge for them.
Yep.
The single-use plastic bag task force
Mhm.
has made a decision that we want to just ban and not try to do that. But it depends on what the council says.
Sure.
If they want to charge, that's a lot more work,
Mhm.
because then what happens to that money? Does it go to the city? Does it go back to the merchant? I mean, there's a whole nother thing involved.
We can
And I
look
think
at
this is
other
a whole
examples.
conversation
Yeah, it's a whole
to have.
conversation.
We're getting
Yeah.
off a
Yeah,
bit
we
off
are, we
topic.
are getting a little off
But I
topic,
mean,
but
talking about plastic bags while you're there, because Lawrence is
Right.
going to talk about it,
Mhm.
would be
Yeah.
maybe something.
Well,
that
and
you
I
could
think
say.
maybe we should have a larger discussion about this and what the plastic bag task force is doing in another meeting and set aside a larger chunk of time.
Mhm.
I know that you've been working on something.
Yeah.
So let's, we're not gonna just not talk about it again, but yeah, let's.
Yeah.
We could talk about this
What
for a
is
long
next
time.
on the agenda?
Actually, back to your real question. I mean, I think maybe think about what is the likely topics of other cities. So let them talk about it and maybe you can hit on it a little bit, but
Right,
take that more as an opportunity to learn from what other people are doing, to bring that back to
oh, for
us.
sure.
And then,
Mhm.
but then what specifically is Wichita doing that's a little bit unique, in
Right.
terms of that? And we're still early, so it's, our uniqueness isn't, we're not as far along in some
Right.
ways, but on the other hand, what else, maybe even prior to this board being set up, what else has Wichita done that maybe people don't know about as much? 'Cause I know one of the frustrations was that there have been moves by the city to do things and people just didn't know about it.
Mhm.
So if you could take that opportunity to highlight some of those things so people do know about it, I might
Brings the pictures
utilize.
of the little airport. I mean, I was
Yeah.
so excited when I was watching that being built, the way that they put
Mhm.
all this sustainability
Yeah,
into
or
it.
even
and
this
how-
Yeah.
library.
Right,
The
too.
library, exactly. I would look at those types of things. And so maybe it's the infrastructure and how new
it could
infrastructure is
just,
being built here.
Yeah, and I think Lawrence is gonna touch largely on the climate action plan that they recently put together.
Yep.
Which obviously we don't have yet,
But you're working on it.
but we're getting there.
And again,
We'll
to
get
Louis'
there.
point, it's not surprising that the most progressive city
Mhm.
is ahead of us on that one, right? So,
Exactly.
but you can say that over the next year, we
Mhm.
too are looking to have our,
Yeah,
Well, and the Metro KC area has a Metro climate action plan. For
right, there's a
them, for Lee
regional.
Summit, for the
Mhm.
Missouri side, for everybody.
Yeah,
And Wichita may be kind of in the middle, but there's a lot of towns that are doing way more than we are.
look at Greensburg. Anyway, sorry.
Well, but I mean, Derby,
Like
Andover,
within,
I'm talking about
Mays High
right here,
School, for
Sedgwick
example.
County.
Yeah.
They're doing a lot of stuff.
Mhm.
They're even doing one hauler for trash.
Right.
Many of the smaller towns are.
Mhm.
Derby's doing that,
Mhm.
where here we still have 8 haulers going down every single.
Which we talked about at the last
block.
meeting. I think there was some good ideas that came out of that in
We're
terms of
working on
how,
it.
yeah, we'll touch on that. We'll get to that later
Yeah.
during updates.
Okay.
Anyway, I did not want to spend a lot of time on this because I already had some ideas. I just wanted to make sure that your guys' opinions were included. You can always send me stuff. It's I need to finalize the PowerPoint by August 9th. So if you
Okay.
think of anything,
Do you want to send it to us to take a look at
sure.
once
if
you
I
have a
time.
draft? Yeah.
If I have time, yes, I will send it.
If you do, you have time to get comments, then we're happy to look at it.
Lauren said Wichita State Sustainability Report is worth mentioning.
Yeah,
I think,
that's
that is,
that's a good point, Lauren.
Yeah,
It's
that's
a-
good.
it's a
Mhm.
several month-long project, so I think that
Yeah.
is something.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Okay, I just want to keep moving this along because this library does close at 8. We
Yes.
cannot go over much
Okay.
from our regular time.
Yep, no
They
problem.
will kick us out.
W board placement program.
Yes, so this is something, and Lauren, you might know, you probably know all about this, being on the board. But I had reached out to W to help facilitate more committee members on all of our different committees. And my contact Molly had asked if we were interested in being put on their board placement program, which they'll place people on in October. That being said, though, a lot of our committees haven't met, so I am really hesitant to do that and commit, a committee to something that's happening and then not have it actually happen. And I don't want us to, I don't want us to commit to giving somebody an opportunity to sit on a board and gain experience, and then that opportunity doesn't happen.
Can you take a
So-
step back? What is the W board placement program?
W is what?
W is the young professionals group.
Through the chamber.
Yes, I believe so.
Okay.
And so the board placement program places their members onto different boards to gain experience on how a functional board operates.
Okay.
So they can get that experience and learn a little bit and also contribute their own knowledge. And so I had gone back and forth talking to my contact about potentially some interest for young professionals sitting on committees, because we want younger people to put their opinions forth.
Sure.
And so,
A wonderful idea.
right.
Boards are always looking for somebody under 60 to join their board.
Right.
So
Yeah, perspective.
exactly. So
Yeah.
I gave her information about all the committees already. But this is another option as well
Okay.
of a more formal placement.
Is it just a city board or could they be placed on boards?
I think it's nonprofits.
Okay.
Yeah, all sorts of
Okay.
things. So that being said, I am worried that for some of our committees that aren't moving, I don't want to make that commitment without having something more set in stone, because
Agreed.
Yeah.
You said by October?
Yes. So I don't know when the cutoff is for when they would need to know. I would assume it's probably earlier than that. October is the actual placement, but they probably need a commitment maybe like a month or two before. So I mean, that puts us at like mid next month or September. So
What if we place them on like a Lori's board where we know that they're more, like we get one or two people we place on boards that are more active? You're looking at me like.
I'm just thinking they'll be jumping into the middle of some stuff that they don't know anything about.
That's
Well,
okay,
I
right?
think
Because it's
that's
the
fine.
educational part piece of
yeah,
it, right?
I mean, in
Okay.
any board, you're gonna go in with little context, and you're gonna have to,
You have to get in, up to speed
you're
on
in
it.
the deep end and you have to learn.
It could also be some extra help for you too, in the sense of some of what you're working on. So if we did it, I I agree with you, Nina, that since our boards are so new and some of which are not very well established. Although I will say this, I think those of us on the communications one, although we haven't met as much as we should yet, I think could actually probably use the help. So,
Okay.
so if we maybe requested two, one for Lori's and one for ours, to start.
Has your engagement and education committee met with the actual public?
No,
Why not?
because we've been slow. To be frank.
Because if you saw the
Let's
list,
just
she
be
gave us
honest.
a list of all the different committees and there's a
Yeah.
whole bunch of people.
So did you
They're
say it should be, we should request somebody for waste and recycling and for education and outreach?
Yes.
Okay.
Lauren, does this sound reasonable to you to just sort of dip our toe in?
So board placement has been it's a speed networking, speed dating kind of a thing. So it could be that Laura or Nina could just go and talk to each young professional and list the opportunities and all the different committees that are available. And it can be a that day decision, and whichever one they're most interested in, they could decide to join or not.
That happens in October is the actual event.
Yes, what we do, it's a 2-part series. So like the first time that they meet, they'll learn a little bit of board 101. So what is it like to serve on a board? What's your obligation? That kind of thing. And then the second event is the speed dating.
Okay. Okay, so that's good. That gives us some flexibility, and maybe by October, more of the boards will be better established by then too. So that would be a good situation. And then, yeah, by then we'll know. So right now we're thinking Lori's board and hopefully ours. And then as we work on getting up to speed a little bit more on some of the others, maybe there'll be another opportunity or two to offer.
Yeah, it sounds like we have some time to
Yeah.
figure that out.
What's
so
the date of the speed dating? Do we know?
it's in my email, but I don't
That's okay.
recall.
If you let me know, that'll help.
Yeah, I can
Get
forward
it
you
on my
that
calendar
information.
now. It's important these days.
I'll forward you that email. Keep you up to speed on that.
Awesome. That sounds good. Cool.
Okay.
So I think last tonight we have the board updates. So again, once again, I look over to Lori.
Committee updates,
Committee updates.
Well, I want to ask about the committees. Community engagement and education, you haven't even met yet.
We have met, but
You too have met.
We have
But
met.
you haven't met with the public.
Not with the public. No.
What about the economic development committee?
That I have not gotten up to speed yet, so that's fine.
Jen is also interested in being a board lead on that.
Who is?
Jen.
Awesome,
Okay,
good.
So I need to send an updated list.
Yep.
And I will do that tomorrow.
that would be
Yeah, that would
great.
be good, because we do
Yeah.
need to
Mhm.
get that one
Yeah.
going.
What about energy
sorry, I-
efficiency renewables?
I
They
thought I
have
was already
met.
on the committee.
That's.
Yeah, Jennifer, I was talking about the email you had sent me earlier,
Right.
being on the economic development one. I was just
Yeah.
informing Laura.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I
Glad
had
glad to have
left it off the
you.
list.
Jennifer, I'm, this next month, thankfully, I'm not traveling, I'm here, all is good. So why don't you and I meet, maybe we can get together for lunch or something this next month and start getting that going.
You
And
and.
who am I talking to? I'm trying to see who I'm talking to.
Oh, Laura Lombard.
Laura Lombard? Okay,
Yep.
Laura.
Yep.
Laura, do you have my email address?
I do,
It should be
yeah,
there.
through the, yeah, I've got it.
But see, you've
Okay,
got,
yeah. Let's,
you got more
this,
people
this,
who wanted to talk.
Yep, so we can get,
So
we'll get
all of
these
you could
folks together and we
probably-
can do
that's-
lunch.
That's in your relatively small group.
Yep, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, number, okay, good.
Energy efficiency and renewables really, I know
That's a
that, I
critical
remember
one.
hearing that you guys met once, Esther. Have you met since that? I mean, I don't know if you've met.
Esther, can you hear us? Are you there?
I can't.
That's Jennifer. What about Esther?
Yeah, sorry. I'm here. I'm so sorry.
I was asking about the energy efficiency and renewables committee.
Yeah.
Have you guys met again?
Yes. So we had a meeting like I think 2 weeks ago, and we decided to present like a set of initiatives that like Tammy and I already picked out, and use that as like a guide as to what they would want implemented, because the last few discussions, things kind of went like off topic, and we started talking about things that we didn't necessarily have jurisdiction over. So we took that set of initiatives and we presented it to them. They were all very on board. A lot of them said that the like ones that we did pick out, we could like pursue simultaneously, and like there didn't need to be a trade-off. A few other things popped up. I put it like I recorded it somewhere, and I think I probably did send it to Nina, but we do have like a set of initiatives that we know that like the public has commented on and wants to pursue, and Tammy and I are currently working on that right now.
And Esther, I apologize. I met with Chris Sewell and we went over a bunch of different things regarding city facilities and potential projects. And I have not had a chance to type up those notes and send it over to you guys. But that is an area of possibility as well that would definitely be in our wheelhouse, especially if we have funding coming down the line. So I apologize for not getting that to you guys sooner, but I will, I'll send that out to the full group as well, so everyone's aware of that. But there's definitely, and a lot of it, you know, we had talked about in previous energy efficiency committee meetings about audits and things like that. And there's a lot of seemingly overlap in that report where there's just a bunch of different types of audits. And so there's areas that that makes sense in, so we can explore that a little bit more too. I've just been slacking on that a little bit, sorry.
Oh yeah, like I remember on the list, I'll have to go back and check it because, but I know there were definitely initiatives for specifically city facilities. Yeah, I'll have to go back and check, but that is awesome if there's funding coming along for that, and we can definitely get started on it.
Esther, maybe what you and Tammy could do at the next meeting is be ready to kind of share that with the rest of the board. And then if it's at a point where you're ready to have us vote on it, to recommend it up, that would be great.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Sounds good.
And I'll just make a quick note that with the funding, we're going to have to figure out a way to prioritize what sort of
Top or how much
rises
money.
to the top,
Yeah.
because we're only getting a limited amount of funding. We're not gonna be able to do everything that we want to do. So just to keep that in mind, but we definitely still want to have those projects in mind, because we could, secure grant funding, or
Mhm.
anything else could happen. Grants pop up all the time for different things, so
Right.
it's always good to have a list of what should be done next, and we can definitely, I think that's been on the list of to-dos for a bit now.
And the funding that we're gonna get, that, because I think it was $100,000 or something like that I saw, something that, if I'm remembering right. But does that mean, I guess, what is that money for, in the sense of, if it's for a specific project, we can utilize it from there, or we could submit a project up to the city that they could potentially fund otherwise, or through grant money or whatnot, right? Or not
Right, so
really?
we're still trying to figure out how exactly that money is allocated. So
Yeah.
for instance, if there's a cap on what it can be used for, or
Mhm.
how we would prioritize. So that's something that I'm working on the next couple weeks or so.
Yeah.
But
Or if we needed matching funds from the city for a grant, that might be where.
right, exactly.
Okay.
So that's something we've talked about as a good opportunity to really expand the
Mhm.
amount that we're able to do, is if we find grants to apply for and we need that match.
Mhm.
Maybe that's something that we prioritize.
Mhm.
And then maybe after that, we prioritize items that make their way high up on the matrix as far as their impact, things like that. So that
Mhm.
still needs to be fleshed out. But
For
Yeah.
for the next year, would it behoove us, maybe starting, this fall or early next year, to figure out, based off of the various committees, what kind of money we would actually need for future years to be more successful? So, as we prioritize these things and we understand, okay, to do X, Y, and Z projects in 2023, or the fiscal year, whatever, if it's 2023 or 2024. But the city's fiscal year to do that, then maybe we'd have a better chance of getting more funding in the future. Potentially,
potentially,
in theory.
in theory,
Okay.
yeah. So I will say, we're gonna want to spend the full amount,
Right,
because we don't want it to get
Right.
right,
cut.
right.
Right.
Yeah, we didn't
Um,
use it, so you don't need that much anymore.
exactly.
Yeah,
We definitely do
Exactly.
it.
I know about that game. Yeah, yeah.
So that's something to think about.
Mhm.
We're gonna have to be a bit methodical about it,
Yeah.
which can be difficult, especially because it spans a whole year and things come up
Mhm.
quickly. So yes, I think we should start putting some thought into how we want to split things up after
Yeah.
we have a little bit more information on how the spending is, if there's any sort of caps on or allocations on certain areas, like grants at a certain percent, or like education at a certain percent, or whatever. It's
Right.
still very much in flux. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking by next month's meeting, that will be done,
Mhm.
and it will be either going for approval or already approved, and then that will give us a good basis to move forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Good.
That sounds
Sounds
good.
good. Yep.
Okay,
Thank you,
next
Esther.
committee was the green space. I know that
Um,
you've been so busy, you probably haven't been able to put everybody together again.
We did meet again.
Did you?
Mhm.
Okay.
I got several ideas.
I
I
see
don't
you
know if
have
I
some
have-
new people now.
Yes,
that
there
weren't on there
are
before.
several.
Has anybody seen Marco Temple?
No.
I haven't either.
Um,
He signed up for every committee,
Hmm.
but he's
right.
not appearing.
So we got, we talked about a lot of things that we might want to prioritize. One thing we talked about specifically was working with the new land bank. They haven't done a whole lot right now, which is kind of the difficult part. And they're hiring for a coordinator, so that there's sort of like an interim person right now who's sort of overseeing the board. I did reach out to her to try and get some more information, but I have not gotten a response yet. But we're in their goals. It does state that part of the the idea behind the land bank is to use properties for community benefit, which could be things like parks and green spaces.
Mhm.
So I'm trying to figure out from them if there's a certain percentage, if there are certain types of properties that they are, they would use for those sort of spaces, or what their ideas are for doing that. So without having, seen a history of what they do with land, it's really hard to see that.
And can I just say that as typically, most of the properties that are in a land bank are urban residential lots that are very small.
Mhm.
Any park department hates having to try and maintain those, because basically they just end up having to mow them.
Mm.
And using them for public purposes and making parks out of them sounds just lovely, right up until you figure out the maintenance costs. And then it
Well,
can be really problematic.
Let me tell you what we did in my neighborhood. We have the Third Street Drainage Project that runs right through the middle of the neighborhood. And they promised us everything.
Yes, they
And then
did.
they started taking our money away and taking our money away. And we still wanted to have some park. We wanted to have actual park. So we actually got the name and number of a house that was vacant. The owner had left it vacant. There were people in it. They had started fires. It needed to come down. And the city was like, well, we don't know where we should buy. How can we get something? There's no problem. There's no problem. Oh, yes, there is here. And they bought it. And now we have what we call a tot park, which is one city lot. And
But
our
it's
lots.
adjacent to the drainage way, which is pathway and a linear
Well,
park.
Yeah, but it's also next door to Mary Dewey.
Mhm.
So Mary keeps an eye on it. And she's happy to have it there. We also have some equipment.
It
that
can,
was put
it
in.
can work. In individual cases, it can work if the neighbors are, I'm just saying it can be problematic in mass. When you've got, 40 or 50 of them, then it just becomes.
Well, and that's why you have to have some buy-in.
Right, and that's
Mhm.
something
From
we've
the
talked
neighbors.
about as well. We've also talked about the addition of community gardens, and that also comes with maintenance and buy-in from residents as
We're working
well.
on one right now with Riverside, which reminds me, anyway, so there's one going on that's being added,
Yeah.
a new one that Chris Rogers is.
There are
working on
25 community gardens
for
in
outreach.
the city.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So-
Breaking news apparently from Mansion.
Yeah, except will he change his mind again?
We hope
That's
not,
funny.
but we'll see.
Huh.
Won't know until the vote actually goes in, but anyway,
Yeah.
Sorry, Deborah, I tried changing it on the controls, and it doesn't want to.
driving me
I don't know if there's any way.
I'll see if I can find something for next time.
Find some little thing to put in.
Under there.
Like
I'm
the
mostly
list.
doing this because I want somebody to realize that someone was annoyed by this. Please ignore me.
Can I make a comment?
sure.
It just because you have a lot of beautiful parks here in Wichita, at least on the west side, and I think all over, and I'm really, really happy about that. And I understand what you mean about the difficulty of creating a park with liability, with the maintenance, with all sorts of things. What we might think of as another possibility is the idea of nature, of putting it, sort of protecting it as a place for nature. Because that's one thing we really need is more pollinators, more native plants, more natural space for wildlife. I don't know if that's a possibility.
Yeah, that was one thing we talked about as well, is maybe not like a manicured park, but more of a native plant area.
Pollinator garden.
Right, pollinator
Yeah.
gardens, things like that.
Yeah.
And so we haven't identified any specific projects that we're moving forward with just yet. And our next meeting, I'm gonna probe them for ideas on any policies, but hopefully that should give us some idea of what, I guess, rises to the top, and see what's doable.
Totally. It's so great. And the other thing is I hate to compare the two, but I always will. I was offered, if I could make my land, I had an extra lot in Los Angeles, if I could make it agricultural, they were going to give me money off of my my property taxes. And that would be so easy to do, just put an orchard up. There's various other things that one could do with land to incentivize it, but also require it to be in agricultural use. But I'm a fish in water here. I'm so excited to be with you guys and just listen to your conversations, and I'll shut up, but I have to go pretty soon. But thank you so much. I will not be able to attend these meetings in the future because I will be working every Wednesday night for the next 6 months, but I will have you in spirit, and I will follow any minutes you put out or any Facebook page stuff you do.
Sounds good. Thanks, Elizabeth.
Yeah. we
And
need to
feel
do
free
that.
to email any public comment if you'd like to do that, and we can read it during our meetings.
Oh, great. Okay, I'll send somebody else from our chapter too.
Sounds good.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. Good night, guys.
Right.
Okay, what about transportation? Mike, did you guys meet?
No, I plead guilty. I haven't really done anything with it to date.
Okay. Waste and recycling, yes, we've been working.
Yes, you
Yes,
have.
you have.
Yes, we
Yes, you
have.
have.
We've got 2 different projects. One of them, we've kind of hit the end of, and we're gonna have to put that off till next year, provided that the grant funding is still available. We had a really, really super short timeline, which it will be just as short next time, but we've got a lot of structure built already now,
Right.
over the last week of everybody working really hard on it.
Generally what happens too is they will give some notice, and I can, keep an eye out for it. Usually it's
Okay,
like
that would be helpful.
1 or 2 months before they actually open the application, which
Okay.
would give us a much better window.
That would be good. That would
Um,
be good. I don't know how to do that, and I guess Jesse didn't know how to do that, so.
Yeah, it's always hard when you hear about it midway through when the application's already open.
Right.
I will also say that KDHE has a solid waste grant as well. We were too late to apply for this year because we heard about it like a week or a few days before it closed
Yeah.
in May. But that one also covers, so it's solid waste, recycling, and compost. So that might be
Okay.
something, if that comes up again in May next year, that might be
Okay.
something worth pursuing as
Yeah,
well.
it's not like we want to just give up on doing compost,
Right.
because we have to work, we have to keep moving on that. So
Is
yeah, May
anybody
would,
keeping it, I'm sorry, is anybody keeping a calendar on all these? Yay, thank you, and your code is great. Way to go.
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's great. And we've already got that Google Doc started. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it since you've been back in action again, but we have put a lot of information in there,
Mhm.
but not enough. So
Right.
we need to work more on that, and maybe once we get past the trash, we'll be able to really focus on that more. We are also meeting with the remaining 8 trash haulers. There's only 8 of them still. 10 years ago, they put together a contract, and Bob Layton, the city manager, came to the district advisory boards, and I was serving at the time, and said, how would y'all feel about franchising trash? Which means putting one hauler here, another hauler here, another hauler here. How many trash trucks go down your street right now?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Enough.
it's so frustrating. Oh my God. So we are meeting with the remaining 8. 10 years ago, there were 35. But they've been bought out by each other, and there's been a couple of newbies come in. But we are meeting with the haulers that we have to talk with them about what some of the needs are in the city, and getting their agreement, because they were all over it last time. They were ready to do it last time.
Right.
Getting their agreement again to split the city up into sections, so that each person gets this many, save themselves so much money on gasoline, and save us money on rates. And we want to include a bulk dump day, at least every 6 months. I would like to see it more than that.
Right.
Illegal dumping is a huge problem in the city of Wichita, huge.
And that's something that came up with the budget open house as well. So
Yeah, I
that's
saw
something that's
that.
on a lot of people's radars right now.
Yeah, so this is one way we could help tackle that.
Yeah.
And I think it would make a real difference.
Even like once a quarter would be even, anyway. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right, that's what I like, is once a
Yeah.
quarter.
Yeah.
But we would just have to try to work out the
Right.
numbers and see how we could do it.
Right.
Get the rates down, get the 1 trash truck a week only, and probably a second trunk for recycling, for those who chose to do it.
Right.
And add things to this as things go. Add compost
Mhm.
at some point. I was reading about a city, and it's a very small town, that has compost, they just drop you a bucket.
Mhm.
And if you don't opt out, you get charged $6.33 a month or whatever. Unless you opt out. And they said half the people still do it, the other half opted out because they had their own compost piles.
Yeah.
You know, that's one of those
Right.
kind of communities.
We'd have
that
to
would do
look and
that.
see at what the infrastructure needs would be for that,
Right,
so.
no, that's not right away, that's
Right.
just,
An
one of the
example.
future things, once we get this going. Because
Mhm.
we have to make this happen, this is ridiculous.
Right.
We've got like 25 cities in Sedgwick County, 16 of them already have franchise trash. They have a single hauler.
Has Jesse looked at industrial composting?
I've asked him about that, and I don't know that he really wants to try to get into that.
Okay, I don't
But
know
I
what it
think we
entails,
need
but I
it.
know you can compost more
You
with
can,
industrial.
and all the stuff that says compostable
Yeah.
is
those
not
connect-
compostable. Unless
It's
it says,
industrial.
unless it
compostable.
says backyard compostable.
Right,
Most of them have that disclaimer, it's not compostable in your backyard.
right.
That would go into an industrial compost.
Mhm.
And people are ready for that. In Wichita, people are ready for this now. So that would be something that I want to look at. He says that there's a place in Andover or Augusta that's called Evergreen that may be doing
Evergreen.
industrial compost already.
Hmm.
That maybe we could just, our recyclables go to Hutch. We could do this.
Are they actually recycling the recyclables? I've heard different stories about that.
Well, they all go to the same place. They all go
Okay.
to Stutzman's.
Mhm.
Stutzman's has now been bought out by Waste Connections
Okay.
probably 3 years ago now.
Doesn't Waste Connections have a materials recycling facility within the city limits?
In the
Is that
city,
just a
do they?
transfer station? I'm not sure.
It may be, because I know that in the past, everything went up there because they have the MRF.
Right, that's
Which
right.
the machine that sorts.
Mhm.
So they would take everything up to Hutch and sort it, and that's what they bought.
Okay.
So I think it may still be going up there.
Okay,
maybe
for
it's-
some reason I thought they had one within the city, but I'm not sure.
It would make sense to have one in the city, because even their cardboard goes to Wichita. But their glass goes to McPherson, and they make insulation out of it. I mean, they've got these different places that they could take it. But the industrial compost, that stuff looks like it's plastic, but if you put it in there, it ruins the entire batch. You can't
Right.
put it in there. You should not put it in there. So that's something that we do need to look into.
Maybe that's also an educational
I was about to
piece.
say, I think because most people
Yeah.
wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
Is-
Right,
Yeah.
right. If we
Yeah.
could educate people on recycling alone, if we could get somebody from the Waste Connections people to come out and educate us.
One of the things we should have the committees do, particularly for those of us doing the community outreach part of it, is write down those types of things that you'd like, messages you'd like us to be spreading. And that way, then, as we start to get that rolling out on a better, then we'll have those messages already ready to go. Like, these are the ones. So maybe, one day we do something from your committee, another day we do something from another person's committee, but just the messages that we want the community to understand.
Yeah, and would have been a big thing with the compost, but it's also going to be a big thing with the trash, is education. And the city manager doesn't want us to just jump in.
Right.
He wants to get public comment. And in the past, what killed it was public comment of about 5 or 6 people probably. Right, but they were loud.
They always are.
Yeah, and
Loud
so
minority.
honestly, you have to do what's best for the city as a whole, not for the 5 people who complain.
Right.
So public education,
Mhm.
so that those people who are screaming their heads off will understand.
Right.
If I ask them now, the choice that you wanted 10 years ago, how much is that costing you?
Mhm.
What are you paying per quarter? Exactly, 100, 120? Really? What? When
Right.
you could pay $40 if we franchise. Would
Yeah,
that be a draw for you?
So I think in sort of getting to that educational piece and some of the feedback is, I know we've talked about forum before,
Yeah.
but maybe also going out to dabs, things like that.
Mhm.
But we can talk about that, once we
Yeah,
get there.
Yeah, that's all part of
But
it.
just to give you an idea, we do have that meeting with the haulers scheduled at the end of August.
Okay.
I have 5 confirmations so far. I have
Not
one.
everybody? One of them is probably going under.
I have one no,
Really?
because
Who
I
is it?
guess, oh gosh, I don't
Eagle?
remember. But it's their busiest day apparently, and so they're out collecting.
Busiest day, okay.
Yes.
At least you can
but-
report to them what happened.
Right,
Yeah.
we'll be following up and gaining feedback, probably by email as well. So. Yeah, those are the ones we were able to get
Okay, so we
solid
have
yeses
five.
for.
We have five.
So
It's
far.
still a good,
Okay.
it's still a
5 out
good
of 8,
amount.
still not bad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I would like
not
to know
bad.
who you have though.
Yeah, I can send you my list. I'd have to look that
Okay.
up.
Yeah.
But I think we have, sort of the bigger players.
We got
Um,
Waste Management, Waste Connections.
I believe so.
Air Capital is the next, probably one of the next biggest,
Yes.
because they've purchased a lot of the other smaller ones. Ballinger's is a small guy, but
Yeah,
got
I
a
need to,
pretty loyal
I've
following.
called them and I don't have an email address for them, so that's been difficult. So I'm still
yeah.
trying to reach out to them.
yeah, they're an older
Um,
company, so that might be,
Mhm.
they just don't have that.
Yeah,
I
so,
don't want to be a downer, but I do believe we have lost our quorum, and I don't know whether you need to know that or not.
well, I think we're finishing up,
Yeah.
anyway.
Just giving reports.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're working on a couple of things right now. Water Committee. Greg and Philip, neither of them are here.
I don't think that one started yet.
No, I don't think so either.
Yeah, is that the last one?
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
so.
That's the last one.
So,
Well, I
Yeah.
pledged literally tonight to go home and write up an email to the Economic Development Jennifer, so we'll get that going this month.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
then
that sounds good.
similarly, actually, I'll follow up with Michael and Lauren about the education. So I'll get those two. things
yeah,
started
I know that
get
one was
moving.
really hard because you were out.
I was
and then
out,
Lauren
yeah.
was out, and
I did try to get a meeting on the boats
Yeah.
before I left and it
it
just didn't
was
function, but,
challenging.
but
So
we'll
we'll try
get those
again.
going.
But yeah, let's get them
Yeah.
going. I mean, if we're
August
gonna
is a
do
good month
anything
to
with
get
the
things
W
going.
group, we need to have
More.
more active
Agreed.
committees.
Yeah, agreed. I'm actually pleasantly surprised and to some degree, right, that we've gotten a little bit more going than I thought we had, a little bit more. But we'll
Mhm.
up our game this month to get more of them going.
That sounds
Yep.
good.
If there's anything specific that you want to touch on next week for an extended period of time, let me know. I don't think I have anything on the agenda right now, except for
mean?
going over budget probably.
You mean the?
Next month.
Okay,
Next month,
next month,
yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know you had
Well, we may be
talked
ready
about-
to do the bag.
Yeah,
to,
just let me
to-
know.
To present.
Yeah,
Hopefully there'll be
if,
people here.
there's not a lot of people still on the call, but for those who are further along in their committees, maybe that's a good time to, if there's things that we can vote on, maybe we try to do some voting if it's possible. And actually take some things up to city council at this point.
Well, we
there'll
won't
be
be ready
anything-
for trash.
Okay.
No, we won't have it even met yet
Yeah, that's
by
right.
our next meeting, so.
Yeah, with the new trash.
So
cans.
I would assume that a possible vote on a project or something would come up in September at the earliest.
Unless the energy efficiency
That's
committee
true.
is ready.
That's true.
So I kind of challenged Esther to do that. So we'll see. I mean, if Esther, I know you're still on, so if you and Tammy can let Nina know, maybe a week or, well, when you normally do the agenda about a week and a half before.
Yeah, 2 weeks.
2 weeks
generally.
before. So if you could let her know in about 2 weeks, whether you think you'll be ready to submit something for us to actually vote on, then she can put that into the agenda. And if not, then we'll, like you said, September, but.
I'm flexible too, so if it later than that, that's fine.
Okay.
But we'll, depending on how busy the agenda gets.
Right.
Right now, we're good.
Yeah, I would like to, I mean, you may or may not be able to do this in this next meeting either, but just talking more about the sustainability plan. Just having more of maybe a briefing on that and,
Yeah, I think that definitely requires some input from the group as well,
Yeah.
as far as the process we want to take.
Yep,
Because it's not that hard to pull, science-based targets and throw those into a document saying this is what we want to do.
right,
It's more so how do we get there?
Right.
And that requires input from
us.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, if you feel that it's appropriate and you're ready to by next meeting, that might be a good
Okay.
topic of conversation.
We'll see.
Okay,
Yeah, there's probably something
See.
we can go over though.
and
as far
if
as-
not August, then September. somewhere in
Even if
that
it's
timeframe.
just talking about how we want to engage public for their feedback.
Your attention,
input.
please.
Absolutely.
10
The
minutes.
library will
Yeah.
close. in
We
15
must
minutes.
go. Yeah.
If you have.
Hey,
books,
Nina,
check out. Staff are
Hello?
available near the self-check stations to assist. Please save all documents and complete all print.
Hi, I was just curious, when you go to this Kansas Environmental Conference,
Yes.
is it possible to ask if any of the cities as an early project tried to define what their carbon footprint was?
Yeah, I could definitely ask that. I know a lot of places do emissions inventories, so that's not out of the question.
And I'm just curious if we could all sort of find out what the baseline is for easy projects or something. Thank you.
Yep.
Bill Wentz did a study on that.
WSU.
It's been some years ago. I'd like to see where we are now.
Yeah, for better or worse.
Presented that to the
Same.
KCC.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Well, and I will get a hold of Troy Houtman and just see,
Yeah, ask.
you know, it doesn't hurt to ask.
He's very, I mean, he seems very accessible. You
Yeah,
see him a
he
lot
has
in
been.
various,
Yeah,
So-
well, and I mean, because I have the Third Street drain
yeah,
and sometimes it needs attention.
Yeah.
He's really quick about responding.
yeah,
And
wanna,
it's not even parks.
If you want to copy me on that when you reach
Yeah,
out to him, so
yeah.
I know what's
For sure.
what's going on.
happening.
Yeah, yeah, I'll reach out to him.
With that, I think I will call this meeting to adjourn for the evening unless there's any last minute comments that people would like to make.
Get to work, y'all.
Okay, sounds good. Good comment. Sounds good. All right, thanks, everybody. Have a good evening.